Hey everybody, I'm Crow. Welcome back one last time to Axiom Verge. We're just going to read through these notes real quick. I imagine this isn't in the proper order, and I apologize for that. Maybe these are all things having to do with the same thing when they look the same, and then they're just broken up into groups, but I think this is just the order we got them in. I'm just going to go through all of them. It calls itself Zedder. I don't know how I know this, but I do. Strange that such a thing would have language. Stranger still, that it would have a personal identity. I'm not sure how long I can last. I lose more and more, each passing day. Sound is a deafening throb. Sight is a kaleidoscopic fire. Smell and taste open up entire worlds of terror. The worst is touch, a tingling, writhing, itching mass. It is expanding, supplanting. There won't be anything to save when it's done. The pathogen spreading or something? Athedos has disabled our drones. This one is operating on battery power. My own blood is failing me. If you want to go forward with Ophelia's plan, now is the time. I say why not? We may die regardless, but this way is a bit more interesting. Public notice. To the people of Sudra, it has come to pass that both High Priestess and Nin Aruna have died of plague, as have many more of the priesthood and nobility. Sudra as a kingdom is no more. Look for us in prisons below Council Rock, where the Kulolitu are awakening the old machines. May the gods guide us until distant days. We know that the mind, like Euclid's algorithm, is eternal, existing equally across all universes in which it appears. It can never perceive its own demise, rather the instances which do not cease to carry on for those that do. For most of us, this happens, without us being any the wiser. But what of Uruku? This is not so much death as a deadly, aberrant dementia. The algorithm itself is twisted, changing from one moment to the next. There is not any one point at it, which Athedos ends and Uruku begins. Simply a countdown or continuum of torment. Were I to die now, would I awaken mercifully as my former self? Or as this amalgamation, forever seeing danger in every shadow. So they were clones, they weren't... So the original Uruku guy, person, saw the clone of himself mixed with Athedos or something? I wonder why he didn't have the clones help him then. Were they all too, like, not having the mental capacity to help? They all did seem pretty robotic. I'm gonna butcher all of these names. My lovely, I have a new dream for you. I think that you'll like this one. It starts with your death and goes on from there. Return to my embrace. I've missed killing you. Athedos' message to somebody that made him angry? The Breach. Our best conjecture thus far is that it is a forced relinking of the lattices underlying adjacent universes. The Breach Attractor, then, has some capacity to shift the points at which the lattices link. The region beyond the Breach remains intact, as when the Breach recedes, the atmosphere and surrounding ocean don't encounter a vacuum in its absence, though there is a strong disturbance in the currents once the two sides meet again. Outside of a Breach elevator, passing through the Breach can be fatal. The Sudrans use this as a makeshift shield to keep out intruders, or, as in our case, to keep something else trapped in. Based on their writings, it seems that the Sudrans have long ago lost a scientific understanding of what the Breach truly is, perceiving it as an intense meteorological phenomena rather than a divider between worlds. A7 hypothesized that the Breach itself is invisible, and that the effect we see in the sky is in fact a protective field of microscopic elements covering the frayed ends. So they didn't understand it. I wonder if the A1 through 9 were the clones. No, because one of them... Yeah, because there's 10 bosses in the game. A1 through 9 would mean that 9 of them were functioning, and the last one was a failed clone. But I guess that person would have... I don't know. The Breach, they didn't understand it. Athetos. Katrashka's got to him before I had a chance. He is here, and he released some kind of plague. I tried to stop him, but failed. He thinks I am dead. He's holed up at the breach attractor now. We can't let him escape. Axiom 1. A. All algorithms are universal and valid, regardless of whether they are executed. B. Cognition is a sub-algorithm whose behavior is to perceive properties of the parent algorithm describing it. C. Any algorithm giving rise to cognitive entities will be perceived as reality by the entities described. That was the thing that Trace wrote when they first started calling him Athetos. Araka. My dearest Araka has become ill. No matter what I dream for her, she remains listless. Please, she is harmless. Move her to a larger chamber. Give her room to stretch. Or if you really wish for her to die, let me kill her properly. Some kind of messed up relationship. The Kuliltu. A dozen generations ago, Kuliltu battled in the sea above, and the High Priestess wrung in the storm, leaving them to spill upon the plains. At the time, this was thought a good omen, and the Kuliltu, resembling the old machines, sent into the care of the priesthood. But Kuliltu do not age or die, so there they remain to this day, watching and waiting. The High Priestess may not remember what they once were, but the histories do, as do the Kuliltu. Should they ever be returned to the sea, I do not expect they will look favorably upon us. Ninturi. So the people they lost all knowledge of how their technology and stuff worked, but also who they were? Vikya. To better understand the Russell Key, we made this command, so that you can read them. Journal page. I've hidden some of our more sensitive items in the breech pockets, appearing here and there. The Russell Key won't go in. It interferes with their electronics. From the High Priestess. We have retrieved what remains of your belongings from the silo. The old machines are yours. The clergy await your instructions. You have free rein to either redeem or condemn yourselves. Choose well. Eshinima. Anonymous quote. It must not be forgotten, the legacy of Sudra. In those far remote days, it was a time of war, of battles between angry demons and angry men, when roaring storms of fire and darkness were cast like stones between combatants. It was not until the sky ocean was torn asunder, the last crop turned to dust, the last brick of the last home shattered, and the last warrior and the last demon lie dying, that the people understood their sin. And so the arms of the apocalypse were sealed, the masters of patterns castrated, the old machines returned to slumber. The legacy of Sudra is atonement. It is reparation of the sea and the stars. It is the suffering that brings our salvation. Lots of wars tore the world apart. Maybe that's why they ended up forgetting themselves. The Land of Civilized Kings. The Land of Civilized Kings, spoken of with reverence, in poem and song alike, is often described as our motherland, our birthright, a promised kingdom. It is this one's opinion that the Land of Civilized Kings is none other than Sudra itself. In a time of former glory, the old machines, those perennial tokens of bad fortune, were our one-time salvation, Eternal harvest, eternal happiness, eternal life. How did we learn to fear such things? Human nature. So they were human. That would explain all the human bodies, obviously, but... Huh. Different? I thought they were some kind of other people, though. We're trained to expect bad to follow from good, like night following day. We have an instinct not to drink too deeply of the sweetest nectars, and sometimes this instinct swings to the other excess. It is time to stop speaking of the land of civilized kings as a long-lost dream. It was never lost. It is simply waiting for us to wake up. Oh, he told us to wake up at the very end. Do they have to die to wake up? Official letter. To High Priestess Machinima. It's probably Machinima, because there's two M's, actually. Machinima. It's too much like Machinima. While we are normally hesitant to recommend any course of action that the Kuliltu may have suggested, we have little choice. We are unlikely to survive this. Regardless, give them what they want. Nin Aruna. Sudran translation. I have done my best to enable rudimentary translation between Sudran and English, that is, the modern Sudran script, not the programming language. The command is reveal Sudran. I've tried it with success on most of the modern Sudran communications, as well as some of the older Sudran texts. Much thanks to GearTab Variant for his assistance. So they were all of the surviving people were robots. He made them flesh. Like, all of the flesh is only here because of him, then? Because he tried to clone robot people? Maybe? I don't know. English. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy sleeping dog. What, pray tell, is a fox? English. Thought long ago succumbed to evolution's merciless twisting lever. Seems to be with us once again. Queen Elizabeth, I have bestowed upon us a new dream. Come into my arms. We have much to learn. Reply, the outsider. You simply must stop tempting me with such delectable musings. It is with great restraint that I say, respect your original decision. She may be playing puppet master, but for now, we need her. But, once we've got what we came for, let her be mine. Please? The outsider. Was that from Trace, then? Because he's the only one I can really imagine as an outsider. We need to know who that lady is. Because she's mentioned all over. They kill her repeatedly, so she's probably been cloned, but it seems like she's the key to everything. The Storm. Eshanima. You barely understand the technology that surrounds you, yet claim to protect it. It will crush us all once it fails. At least grant us access to your rebirth chambers. Do that, and I will consider being less bitter over what came before. No, because they wouldn't have rebirth chambers if there weren't already organics. Land B. I realize I've failed in our primary objective, but please hear me out. I didn't just kill Katrashka's body. I used the gatebreaker. We have a fresh set of nanogates to do with whatever we please. Given what we recently learned about the Sudran rebirth chamber, we could use this to our advantage. In fact, it may be better than in my original plan. We would control him. Transcription. Conversation with A3. Who are you? I am Talal. What are you doing here? Udug Hall. What does Udug Hall mean? Damon. What does it look like? Is Talal in Udug Hall? No. What is Talal? What happened to Athedos? I am Athedos. But you just said you are Talal. How can you be Athedos if you are Talal? I am Talal. Who do you think I am? Athedos, why did you attack me? Do you remember attacking me? The intruder who commandeered the Storm Talisman is suspected of releasing a plague. Attempts to negotiate with the intruder have failed, as has the use of force. Evacuation has been thwarted by the storm itself. While we understand this affliction, we are requesting... until we understand this affliction, we are requesting that people remain in their homes and keep away from public areas. Ninaruna. It was already too late. Faded note. To whomever finds this, Sudra is miraculous. The fact that I've been healed attests to that. But it's too dangerous to bring this technology back to Earth. Whatever happened here was catastrophic. The ramifications extending to everyone. We're going upstream, to the filter, or whatever lies beyond, for answers. But it was left open-ended, because he died before we got the answers. I totally would have joined him, because then we could have found out everything. The Outsider. I am so tired of her schemes. If not for her, we wouldn't even be in this predicament. And now, this ridiculous plan. Aside from Dreshka's obvious interest in her, we have no indication she's even telling the truth. We don't know where she is from, or even what strain she is. She seems to have greater capabilities than she admits. Should I have let you kill her when I had the chance? I do not know what is right anymore. Proverb. When in ancient days the black-headed retreated from the world. When, after days of war, the carrion birds circled. When graves were filled with the caskets. When the lone orphan plowed the barley. Now, at that time, were the primordial patterns laid to rest, their masters banished, but just as the seeds of the next harvest are sown, so too did kings plot and plan for the next battle. Did they scheme and make secret dealings. Far to the east, where the sea and the mountains meet, is a cave dug out by the crashing waves. Here, the king conspired and set aside the greatest of primordial fires. Dingergisbar? With its name as the key. It lays... Oh, that was a code! That was one of the codes we had to use. With its name as the key, it lays in wait until that day, when next masters of patterns again reap the harvest. So I assume some of these that seem like they have less to do with anything are hiding codes, because that was one of the things we had to enter to get some of the loot. Trace. Somehow, there is a new variant on Sudra, and he's working for the Russell Key. He's young. More importantly, he has the AD. If you still read this. Why does that... I'm not reading that wrong. If you still read this, kill him. He can undo everything we've worked for. I still haven't determined where he came from. If there's some alternate passage into the breach, we absolutely must find it. I'm going to make at least 2 new variants to deal with this. Oh, so actual Trace made that. I wonder how the note got down there then. But that was the 2 bosses beforehand then. But we just kind of flamethrowed them. Letter. Dreshka's suspicions were correct. Rebirth logs show that a man named Athedos came here once before. Hundreds or possibly thousands of years ago. There's so many holes in this. This should be... We got 100% of items, so that should be everything, but... We got so many different sides of a story, but so many bits missing. They didn't understand things. Athedos did and wanted more answers. The breach was, like, linked to the rest of the universe and limitless possibilities and stuff, but they didn't want anything to do with it. So he, possibly using this woman and their rebirth chambers or something, cloned a bunch of people to help himself and created a pathogen that killed all of the organics around here. He then disabled all of the Russell Key, but they managed to destroy his mobility pod thing, or whatever unit that let him get around, so he got stuck in that thing up there at the top. and he just kind of waited. He said that his demise was inevitable. So once he got stuck in there and didn't have anybody else, Trace, like us, we were his only hope for actually succeeding. He was just waiting to die. And without us, with like ever re-enabling the drones, the Russell Key would have been completely shut down too. This whole place was just waiting to die. But we showed up and changed everything. Then we got sent out of here, back to fill the place where he originally left. But we wanted more answers still, so we used everything that we learned here to try and go back. But another older Trace came back to stop us. And I assume when he shot, he killed, so... Does that mean that life is a dream or something? Or am I reading into this too deeply? Because they said that you need to wake up. Honestly, I don't know. Somebody else has probably made a lot more heads or tails of this, but just going by what I read, it's pretty much all I can piece together. People were scared, they hid in their homes, but it was pointless, and they all died. They tried to hide here in the prisons, but it got to them anyway, which is why they were all piled up down in that area. I don't know, pretty deep, but at the same time a lot of holes, and I've heard a lot of holes can make things seem deeper than they are. Or maybe it actually is, I don't know. I probably missed a lot of stuff. Apologies for the pronunciation problems and tripping over my words, this was a lot of reading to do. Either way, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you liked it. Later, everybody.